What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Switch Up Sports coming at you on a Friday. I've got a very special guest on today. Not only is it a special guest, it is someone who is my own blood. It is my own family member. It is my big sister. She is 4 years older than myself. Taylor is someone that was a phenomenal athlete in her own regard. She, was a gymnast, was a volleyball player, played softball. I think she played some basketball in middle school. I think, it was like C team or something. Didn't really play basketball growing up, so she just did it for fun. But was an outstanding athlete, and being my own blood, I felt internally with myself. It was always an easy competition to see. So it's fun having sibling rivalries and trying to be better, always trying to be competition with her. But she has done a lot of stuff in her own regard. She's got a lot of stuff on her plate. She's got a lot of stuff that she's working towards. But at the end of the day, she's pretty awesome. Like I said, my own blood, and can't really be any happier about that. So without further ado, I'm not going to keep you guys waiting. Here is my sister Taylor.
Hey y'all. Hey Quinn. Thanks for the intro. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. I did not make the C team. Just
See, that's
I
why I
got
couldn't
cut.
I couldn't remember with basketball. I knew you did something that had that regard or something, but your guys' volleyball team, you guys were like undefeated or something, right?
Yeah, volleyball was good. Played club, played at school. I tried out for the basketball team. They told me I was very fast, but I got cut even from the C team, which making the C team is a big deal for anyone who is currently playing on C team. But your girl couldn't make a layup, so I got
Hey,
the Knicks.
hey, basketball, that's why none of us play. No one in our family played basketball. I think there's a reason that it kept that way. So,
Eh,
you know that
Fair.
you've played a bunch of sports, you were super athletic, but what is it that you're doing now currently? So, I mean, I know like I'm still doing the sports thing and carrying on for, us in sports, but what are
Yeah.
you doing in the day to day?
No longer in sports. I'm dating a professional golfer. He doesn't play professionally anymore, so I'm still connected in that regard, and supporting you, of course. But I'm a diversity consultant at Capital One, so my days are coaching leaders, helping associates at our company, and figuring out how Capital One can impact the world externally as well. So I love what I do. It's definitely not, waking up every day and grinding a little bit more in the afternoon, but corporate America is where I currently am. Who knows what next year will bring me, but that's what I've been doing for the past 6 years this month.
Wow. So in terms of what you said, in terms of like coaching up leaders and doing some other stuff like that and working in teams, do you feel that because you played sports and you knew how to work with people on teams? I mean, your volleyball team, like it's six people on a court. You have to work with the other five people. You have to have communication. You have to have basically life skills to be successful and a winning team. Do you feel like any of the things that you did growing up has transferred and made you kind of better at what you're doing with corporate America stuff?
Oh, I mean, definitely. And, I don't think about it every day. I think they're just innate skills now that we have from playing sports throughout childhood. But like, for example, like volleyball is a great example. Playing softball is the same way. I played outfield in high school, and um, just because, like, if you don't like your teammate, I think I can speak for myself. Like, there were girls that I played sports with that I didn't necessarily like, or we weren't vibing that day, and you could definitely, it was impacting how we were playing um, the game. And so in corporate America, in coaching leaders and coaching associates, it translates the same way. There's not, I have teammates that, like, I wouldn't, you know, necessarily talk to outside of work, but I have to work with them and I have to get along with them. And so it did teach me conflict management. If you want to win the game, you better buck up and, you know, be kind to your teammate. And it's the same way um, in the professional environment. If I want to get my work done, if I want my network to grow, if I want to keep a positive brand, I can't be out on these calls like acting wild. I have to, figure out, what commonalities I may have with this person, or how can we just move past it, and we can be teammates, we can work together, but um, like, end it there. So
Yeah, I think that's important for a lot of people to kind of know and understand, especially both like currently playing sports and understanding like, hey, they're your teammate. You have to get along with them right there. No one's saying you have to go get ice cream, go grab a drink, go hang out, see them afterwards. But for that
Yeah,
little bit of time, that 8 to 5, that 9 to 6, 9 to 4, whatever it is, that time you need to spend with them. But out of everything in your day to day, I mean, you do it for a reason, and you love it, and you wake up, and you're grinding in a different form, being the corporate
for
America.
sure.
But what's something that's like the best part of your job? What's something that like makes you wake up every day that you're super excited for, and it's, hey, I get to do this today. This is an awesome part of my job, or it's, I get to see this person, or I get to do this thing, or I get to go somewhere. So what's that for you with your job? What's your favorite thing about it?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Can I answer too, like what my favorite thing? Because I've changed roles, and so I spent 3 years in campus recruiting, working with college students, and then am now a diversity consultant. So I'm gonna like answer in two parts. Um, Being in campus recruiting, there was nothing that filled my cup up more than traveling and meeting college students around the country, talking to them about their first career. I think we can spend a whole hour, probably more, talking about like our dreams growing up, what we envisioned for ourselves, and where reality was taking us. I think I had those conversations all the time with college students. They were like, I wanted to be a doctor, or I wanted to be a professional athlete. I still want to be the president of the United States. Like all of those dreams, which I think are still valid. And I think those are the things that wake us up in the morning. But for me, like getting able to like coach, mentor, connect with college students at like getting their first job, that's a big deal. Like your first paycheck, like while this may be different than what you were dreaming of, like corporate America, getting a job, like creating generational wealth for your family is huge. And so getting kids jobs was the highlight of my job a couple of years ago. And then now being a diversity consultant, supporting business and making sure folks feel like they belong. Um, I and maybe this is just not one part, but I'm creating an environment, or I hope to be creating an environment where folks feel like they belong regardless of their identity. And that is inclusive of folks who do feel marginalized, who maybe in their personal lives outside of work don't feel like they belong for whatever reason, like in their communities, with their family, with their friends, or, you know, in the church, like in places like maybe they're striving to find a place where they belong and they haven't found it yet. And that translates into work. We spend 40 hours, sometimes even more than 40 hours at work, and that's a big impact on your life. And so if I can create spaces where folks feel safe to be their authentic selves, but also find a community where they feel like they belong, that is something that fills my cup up in a way that I can't even describe it. Like my cup runneth over, I think is the quote from the work I'm doing now.
Yeah, and that's the kind of cool part. And I guess in terms of getting biblical or a deeper meaning, it's like you're just sowing a lot of really good seeds, and so it can only reap in a greater amount. And I think that's the cool part of like where you initially started and helping those kids initially, because you went through the same thing just before they did. And so now it's a chance to bring people in and, hey, this is what it's going to look like. This is the job culture. You said it's 40 hours a week for a lot of people. It's different shifting from school and learning 40 hours a week into the workplace doing 40 hours. And then, hey, be prepared, for some people that haven't worked the job, and it's like the taxes that come out of it. Don't look at the gross number. Like it's
Mhm.
gonna it's gonna
Yeah,
feel it's gonna feel different looking at the gross versus net. And I
for
think
sure.
then the cooler part is, what you said now in terms of building the community, because I think that's more what people should probably start trying to strive for. I think too many people look at it as, well, I want to do it for this number, or I want to do it for this, but it's like all those things change. But if you show up to work and you've got some good coworkers that you enjoy being around, whatever else it may be, that you just feel it's good to go to work. And
Yeah,
if you're doing the daily tasks, you do a lot of stuff every single day. If you lift a 1 pound weight every single day, well, you know what, you're going to start lifting a 2 pound weight, and then you're going to lift a 5 pound weight, and then a 10, and then
fair.
whatever it may be. But what were some of the hurdles that you kind of had to jump over? I mean, I know you used to do them when you ran track, but what are now some of like, because now you said you're in a different role. So initially getting started and what you're doing with Capital One, I mean, you used to work at Southwest. So like the hurdles
Yeah.
transitioning to Capital One, or, the hurdles to get to where you're at now. So like what are some of the like the big things that you felt that you've gotten over and, have been able to stride past since then?
Um, that's a really good question. I feel like every day brings new hurdles, but I did right after college, I graduated early, unexpectedly, which was great, but I was a public relations major. I thought going into school I would be pre-med. That changed pretty quickly. Then I thought I would fundraise money for hospitals. That shifted into like, oh, I want to do PR for agencies that are doing work in that same vein. And so I interviewed at a bunch of agencies and I just, um, at 21 years old, at 18 years old, deciding to no, not play softball in college, like that was a last minute decision. I wanted a different collegiate experience. And so that's what I did. And then when I graduated, again, I think I felt lost and I made another game time decision after all these interviews. I was just like, I'm worth more than this. Which if I can go back and coach my 21-year-old self, I would be like, be grateful for the paycheck, be grateful for the experience. Your first job isn't going to be your last job in most situations. And the money that you're being offered at 21, uh, the way that I was like scoffing at like $45,000, like I had never made that much money before in my life,
Yeah.
but for some reason I was like, I'm worth more than this. Like I'm not taking that offer because it's not what I'm worth. And so if I
Right.
can go back and tell my 21-year-old self, like, be grateful for the check, you're about to graduate with six figures of loans, like you're gonna have to pay them back. So I did work at Southwest, which I think Southwest is an amazing culture. I grew up idolizing their company and their brand, and so I thought I really wanted to work in travel. And so funny, I took a job offer as a contractor making like at 30s. Like I was making like less than my offers were originally were, but I was like stuck. I couldn't find a job after declining some jobs. And so I think the hurdle for for myself at 21 was really what's the word? Like self-awareness, maybe? Like, I'm not saying that folks listening, like, you are the shit in your own right, and you deserve what you feel like you deserve, but I was not grateful for what was given to me in that moment, and so I don't know if that would have shaped or, changed my trajectory of my career. I left Southwest after a little less than a year. I went to Capital One, again as a contractor, making more money, which was big, but then I was navigating like a bank. I was navigating a 50,000 person company. I grew up, I was the president of every club. I felt like I always got my way. I always had a very large network. Um, and that didn't come right off the bat. Like that wasn't handed to me on a silver platter, which I'm not saying it was handed to me in high school. It wasn't handed to me in college, but it's just a different environment. Like these are grown adults. Like, I'm the youngest one in this meeting. I think I know everything, but I don't. And so then I just had to learn to be a sponge. Like, I don't have to speak on every call. I'm just grateful for the learning. I'm grateful for the moment. I'm grateful for the check that comes every 2 weeks because that was what was driving me. And so that was the biggest hurdle. And I still think it's the biggest hurdle. Every day I'm like, I'm the smartest person in the room. Not in actuality. Like, I know that's not true, but I boost myself up, sometimes to a fault. Um, and I'm trying to like get over that. Like it's the opposite of negative self-talk. It's either imposter syndrome or it's you're smarter than everyone here. And it's I don't know. It's just a weird like juxtaposition of how my brain works. But I think that's the biggest piece that's been like consistent since high school, college, graduating, jobs. Um, it's just knowing your self-worth, but being realistic about your self-worth too. Or like you're not yourself. I'm rambling at this point, so I can stop.
Um, I think that important I like how, like, in terms of, like, you're like, "Yeah, I turned down $45,000 because like, I thought it was, it was nothing," but then, you start making less, and I think that the subliminal thing that was probably going on with yourself, and I think I've started to come to realize this too, is it's like what you're doing on a day-to-day basis starts to be like, everyone starts initially thinking about the money because that's top of mind. You just came out of school, you got your loans. The only thing you're thinking about is how do I pay this back? But it then
100%.
turned into, "Oh, well, I'm now developing this culture. Oh, I'm involved in this and I'm learning every day." So it's like not what you're getting paid and what you're receiving from your job, but it's like, what does your job turn you into? And in terms of being self-aware, like I think everyone should be very happy with where they're at as themselves and look at their past and say, well, I made it to here and all this stuff happened. But I think more importantly, it's like, yes, you can change. Like, don't worry. Today doesn't affect tomorrow. Yesterday doesn't affect tomorrow. We really only have today. And so what can I do today to be the best? What can I do to set me up better for tomorrow and kind of moving through that. So the fact of, sitting in the meetings and learning that and listening from other people, I think has only done that. And so now exactly what we're looking at. It's been, 6 years that you've been at Capital One. You've been promoted from a contractor to full time to promoted double time to, wherever you're at now. So, you look
I'm
at the
very
last
blessed.
6 years and you went from, essentially arrogant, young adult that is super smart and is smarter than 99% of the other people that are, 21 years old. But
Well,
at the end,
let's not go that far, but maybe above average.
okay, 95%. Because I mean,
Okay,
genuinely,
fine.
but you look at other people. So, I mean, you said it yourself. You were president of this club. You were president of this club. You were an athlete in this regard. I mean, and in terms of like your athletic ability, like you turned down playing softball when you were the fastest college softball player in the nation. Like,
Okay,
period.
that is not true
Period.
either. Okay,
You
I was
ran.
fast.
What was your home to home time?
I don't remember. Like
It was.
it,
Was it
it was
not?
like
Was it
it broke
not faster?
10.
But was it not faster than the fastest chick in the nation in college? Like you had a faster home to home time than her, from what I can remember.
I'm just not
So
trying to have people come at me. Who knows? I mean, that was a long time ago. That was a decade
you're
ago.
right. And that's the
Yeah,
past, but
it
it
was
but it
up there.
changed and made you someone who you are now. It's like you achieved at a high level,
Yes.
but we both know that was 10 years ago. So I have to do more than what I was 10 years ago. So it kind of, I think, keeps to push more and more every day. Um, and for you, I mean, like looking ahead the next 3 to 5 years, looking back on the last 3 to 5 years, like what does that trajectory look like for you now? Because, 6 years at Capital One, 5 years since you've been like full time. And then like the last
Yeah.
3 years is when a lot of those different promotions started happening. So looking ahead the next 3 to 5, knowing the past,
Hmm.
how does that shape up for your future? Because I mean, the way that I've always looked is, the exponential. You're looking at an
Yeah.
exponential graph. It's like you do a little, 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 and it just continues. So for you and where you've gotten to now, and where to double and get to, like, what does that look like for you? What are some of those steps? What are some of your plans and thinking there?
Um, oh man, like that's another big question. 3 to 5. I think, in a professional sense, I like granddad worked in DNI, dad worked and still does in DNI. Our Aunt Jennifer works in DNI. And I think the conversation that we've had as a family has always been not to say the needle hasn't moved, but I think it's moved slower than the folks who have been doing this work for decades and stand on the shoulders of giants of those before them. Um, like there's just so much more work that needs to be done, and I know I'm not the only person. I'm one person out of thousands of people driving D&I work in different pockets in the private sector and the public sector. And I like think everyone that's, doing this work, it's hard, but it's amazing. Um, I say that because my journey I think is going to shift here. Who knows the timeline, but I want to impact systems. I want to change um systems that have created inequalities for as long as corporate America has been around. But I don't think I can do that with the knowing that I have right now. There are roles inside and outside of D&I and human relations that I've not been exposed to in the way that I think I need to understand how to dismantle them, for lack of a better phrase. I mean, that's what I want to do. And so I think I'm gonna shift maybe out of being a diversity consultant for a bit, to really understand, what our leaders driven, towards and by. I have not worked in a line of business yet that generates a bunch of money. I've supported staff groups at Capital One. And so I just think there are some nuances of my role that I haven't um, fully figured out yet. I worked in recruiting, but I want to understand performance management. How do folks get promoted? How do folks get sponsored? How do we grow our talent from being a contractor to being future vice presidents of a company? I've been very lucky, like I said, to have now grown a large network and have folks that are behind me, but not everyone has that. And so I need to understand how the game is played, for lack of a better phrase, for the majority, so I can then advocate and speak up when I'm noticing, when I'm realizing, hey, like this system is broken. So I want to come back to DNI. Maybe that is in 5 years. Maybe my shift is now, and I come back and I do the work in a different way. Because I just think we have to pivot how we've been um, driving DNI work for the past couple of decades. I don't want to have a conversation with my kids like dad had with us saying, don't do it because it's hard, or don't do it because things aren't moving. Like I want things to move. So,
Right. And I think that also just kind of combos a lot of what you've done is just going to continue to kind of be a lot of the same stuff in terms of continue to build a bigger network and leveraging that network to continue to help. Um, that's That's good, which in terms of knowing that on a side note, we've always got a place at Born to Win Media. So if you ever want to come and develop some big
um,
stuff for us too, you are always more than welcome. So
thank you.
I know you had said, well, yeah, because I want to do some different like speaking and promotional products. I know how good you are putting on events. So future stuff.
I I love an event. I do love an
And
event.
there you go. So who knows? 3 years from now, Born to Win
Who
events
knows? I could.
coming to you.
Yeah, seriously.
So you had said that you'd want to talk to, your 18 and 21-year-old self. So let's say you're able to take the knowledge that you have today. You can go back to being 18 or 21. Where would you take your knowledge that you have and where would you invest it in first? So, you're basically getting a reset, but you're keeping all your information and your knowledge, but you're going back to 18 or 21 or 22, whatever like a decent age, at least 5 years back. But where are you taking that knowledge and deciding, okay, from this point here and what I know now, like this is where I'm starting and going.
Mm. Um, I think I mentioned imposter syndrome earlier, just like quickly, but if I could go back, I mean, probably to 18, maybe even before 18, because I think it takes a while to build the skill. But I am someone who deeply cares what other people think about me. It's something that I'm still undoing. I'm trying to remind myself your self worth is not dictated by people who do or do not like you. I want everyone to like me, but at 28 years old, I've learned that there are going to be people that you just don't vibe with, and that's okay. But I definitely let that drive and impact how I showed up in spaces. Growing up, I think code switching, which could be a whole nother podcast topic. So that's a whole other thing. But I just think I was a chameleon. It depended on who I was around because I really wanted them to like me. So I would say different jokes, I would wear different things, I would show up just differently. And now I couldn't care less. Like I'm gonna wear the same outfit to see one group of friends that I will another. Like I don't care if I'm not wearing the trendiest clothes or what that group may think is, cute and fashion forward. Like that's not my brand. Like that's not who I am. And I think your brand continues to grow throughout life. And so at 18 or 21, it would be a big feat to expect myself to have this figured out. But if I could give a younger version of me advice, it's just like live your life for you. Like you're born, I mean, to parents and to a family, but like you're born essentially like this is your life, and you die like hopefully with a family and friends who love you, but like that's it. Like it's you get this span of life however long you're blessed with, and do with that what you will, and don't allow people to make you question your worth or make you question your intelligence or make you question how funny or cool or whatever like attributes you feel that you have for yourself. Because it doesn't matter. Like you're gonna outgrow friends, you're gonna find the circle that loves you for you and all of your flaws, and those are the people that are gonna stick with you for life. It's not the folks that come and go. I do think that, it's powerful that people come for maybe a season, or they come for a chapter, not the whole book. Like that's a lesson too, but don't let them dictate you to a point where you feel so low. You're questioning like, am I a good person? Am I anything that anyone wants to be friends with? Because that's just silly. Everyone is worth something to someone. It's just a matter of finding who those people are.
Yes. And in terms of that worth, it only can grow if you want it to grow. But at the same time, if you're not doing the work and you're negatively impacting it, then it's going to shrink and you're going like it's only going to get worse. So both you can help yourself and make it better, and understanding like at the end of the day, the only person that is resting their head on the pillow is myself. The only person that's looking myself in the mirror is myself. Whether you're deciding to go for this job or you're playing a sport or you're eating a meal, whatever it is, you're the person that's deciding what you're doing and how you're doing it. And so what other people say, like you said, it doesn't matter, because it's like, okay, yeah, you can think that, running a mile is hard, but, if I run a mile every day, it's like, well, I know that can impact me and I can be healthier, or I can feel better, or my legs are going to be stronger, or whatever it may be. It's like,
Mhm.
in terms of, basically telling everybody like, great, thank you for that opinion. I don't care, and we'll see you later.
Yeah.
Knowing that and being a Cowboys fan, though,
Oh, okay.
how
Okay.
do you like, so how do you, having just lost and
Yes,
move
okay.
and moving into this week, like, what do you think? I mean, I know, like, being a Cowboys fan, like, what do you think the Cowboys need to do? Because I mean, we are still a sports show, so it's like, what do you think the Cowboys need to do with Dak? What do you think, you know, they are going to do going
Interesting.
forward? Like, do you think it was something they could have won? Like, how do you feel the Cowboys kind of shape up going forward at this point? Because I mean, we saw this season, Dak injured, not injured,
Yeah,
playoffs now out. Like, what's it
damn.
like for you in your world as a Cowboys fan? Because we all know
Yeah.
that they're all different.
We are all different. I'm never a fan that's like, "We're winning the Super Bowl this year. We're the shit. This is our year." Because I just think we've had enough, examples of the fan base doing that thing and then losing. Um, this is wow, I didn't expect to be asked about the Cowboys. The loss was unfortunate, but I was at the Bucks Cowboys game last year in Tampa, and then we won again this year in Dallas. And when Dak went out, I was like, "Oh, season's over. We're done." I can cheer for Jalen Hurts since he's an OU grad. The Eagles have been amazing, and so I honestly didn't expect the Cowboys to make the playoffs and have the season they did. So, shout out to Cooper Rush, I guess. Um, but then with Dak, I don't know. I don't want to drag the man because like I think something's going on. I'm curious if Zeke's going to come back. I'm a big Pollard fan. So I hope that he heals up well and he's, given the money that he deserves. But I know that we can't give everyone on this roster right now the money that they deserve. So it's hard thinking about that folks are going to leave. I'm a Mike McCarthy hater. I'm a Kellen Moore hater. So if they leave this offseason, even though Jerry has said they're not, like that would be great. Like, what's up with the clock management? What's up with the time management? Um, I don't know if the Cowboys are going to run it back. I mean, if Dan Quinn leaves, will the defense be the same? Like Dak said in his press conference that he's not going to throw the interceptions like he did this year. And I mean, I'll give him the grace. He has a metal thing in his hand. He has a metal plate in his foot. So I'm not saying what he's trying to accomplish is easy, but I mean, the Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl since was I born? Like, was I just born? Like, it's been, I mean, like,
Long time,
it's been a long time. Like, it's
long
been a
time.
long time. It's time. So I hope they run it back, but the Eagles don't look like they're falling off. The Giants, like, look like they put something together at the end. Even the Washington Commanders. So I think they have a tough go next year, but I hope they figure it out. And if Sean Payton, snakes
Not
in on
happening.
here, and yeah, I know, but a girl could dream until he's somewhere. I mean, I would love a black head coach as well. So Mike McCarthy can go. We can get someone else. They fired Leftwich from the Bucks. I don't know what's going on with that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll sit and I'll be patient. But as a Cowboys fan, yeah, I can't get my hopes up.
I think the Cowboys got put in a tough position for this offseason. Paying Dak a lot of money, paying Zeke a lot of money, paying the offensive line a lot of money. Micah Parsons is going to come due Tony Pollard's time is coming due. CeeDee Lamb's time is coming due. So I mean,
Yeah,
having to pay a lot of good pieces, and the pieces that you're paying now a lot of money aren't playing at the level that they should be paying at to be getting that money. I
yeah,
think the Cowboys next year, it might be a very rough year because, like you said, the Eagles, they're still not paying Jalen Hurts. They're still not really paying. They've got a lot of young talent that they're only going to get better. The Commanders
unfortunately.
have all the upside. Again, no real talent, bunch of young talent, no money issues at the moment. Same with the Giants. Daniel Jones is going to get paid, but he's not going to be a $40 million a year guy. So they're still
He
going to
does
have
not
tons
deserve
of
to
room.
be.
And I agree, but for NFL quarterbacks, sometimes it's just about getting the job done, and when you can't do that.
You're
So, are
right.
you still watching basketball and other sports these days, or is it just kind of football?
We are. I'm a big OU, obviously, like Sooners. And so I'll be honest, sports have really been tough for me this year. Our football team, it was a
Only made it to a
transitional
bowl
year.
game. Goodness.
I mean, come on, like
It's
I've
an o-
never.
it's an off year with a new head coach and a new system with a
No,
quarterback that
you're
was
right.
hurt for half the year, and they still
Oh,
made a
and
bowl game.
100%. And I'm a Venables like I love him. Like I will never slander him. Lincoln Riley can kick rock. Um, but that was hard. I've never been a fan of OU football when we've been bad. So that was an experience like none other, and it did make watching NFL harder because the Bears were not good. And the Cowboys, I mean, are the Cowboys, so I don't get my hopes up with them. We do watch some Bulls games, but they're having an
They're terrible.
interesting up and down season as well. Yeah. And I think we'll wait until playoffs because that's when things come alive. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs, but we're not watching as many sports, I think. We're just in a weird lull too. Um, with where we are, but I'm not a baseball girl. Justin is my boyfriend's a big Yankees fan, as of a couple years ago. So he's excited for Judge and baseball season, but no, the OU I think ruined my year. So I need someone to start winning and who's in my corner so I can be excited to turn on the TV and watch a sport again.
I mean, the kind of the cool part is it's like, at least with OU, you know that they're going to win something. If it's only softball, that hey, so be it.
Oh, yeah,
You
and
know,
women's gymnastics right now is killing it, and our golf team is good, and they have been for the past couple years. So I know there are things, but like even our basketball team is like ebbing and flowing. So it's been
well, that's always
interesting.
good. You like watching good sports. You like watching teams when they're playing hot, and it especially helps and makes it better when you've got a piece of that winning. To kind of completely change and go on a separate track. This
Okay.
question came from my last guest, and that guest asked the question of: would you rather take a cold shower in the morning or at night? Because he's felt that how he's changed his life, and in terms of like a little daily dedication thing, he's been on the cold
Uh-huh.
shower train.
Interesting.
Would you rather do one in the morning or at night?
100% in the morning, no brainer. Um, It wakes you up. Actually, side note, cold water is better for our curls. So if I'm if I'm not doing a braid, if I'm doing like my natural curl, I will turn the water to like lukewarm. It doesn't matter the time of day. If I'm ready to go out, like the water gets lukewarm at the end, so my curls are not like fried from the water I was scorching myself with. But if I had to do a cold shower, definitely in the morning. I just feel like it's an alarm clock. It's going to wake you up. What was your answer?
I was kind of either. I mean, I'm not really that big of a morning shower person. I like showering at night. I mean, I also kind of shower multiple times through the day. So like I normally do it at the end of the night, just to kind of recap of the day. But yeah, having a cold shower in the morning, like you said, it shocks you, it wakes you up. It gets the blood flowing, it gets, everything tingling and moving. But with that, something I like to do with every show is I like to have my guest, that was that last question. So I like to have my guest ask a question for the next guest. And so if
Okay.
you have any question, what would you ask for the next guest?
Okay. Uh, did you follow like the whole Ticketmaster Taylor Swift concert sales for the tickets?
A little bit. I
Like
mean,
enough?
enough to know what's going on.
Okay. Well, do we think that Ticketmaster gets their lives together for when Beyonce drops the dates for the Renaissance tour? Are we having a Taylor Swift Ticket Nightmare 2.0, or is Ticketmaster going to get it right so the Beehive can get their tickets?
Ooh, yeah, because I don't know which. I mean, there's a lot of T Swizzle fans out there, but
There's a lot of Beyonce
when
fans.
it comes to the Beehive,
Yeah.
that number is substantial. Um, Honestly, I think because they both have such the large fan bases, for my answer and what it would be, I think they're going to do better in terms of being prepped for it, but it's one of
Okay.
those where it's like, "Hey, it's kinda been a while. It's a big person, everyone's amped up, everybody's waiting for it." It's kinda like what happened. I mean, Apple Music, when Juice dropped his album, like, when they dropped his album after he had passed, I mean, it crashed. So I think there's so
Mhm.
many people that are sitting around waiting on it, and if she
Yes.
does any type of like, "Hey, it's gonna be on this day," then everybody's gonna try to buy a ticket at the same time, and it's probably going to happen again. So I'd like to say, yes, they'd have it figured out, but because it is such a large fan base, I don't think it's gonna change. I think there's gonna be some issues, it's gonna be laggy, or they do have it fixed and it's gonna sell out in seconds.
Yeah, which is normally what happens, but the people that want tickets get their tickets. So if I don't get a ticket to this concert, it's not going to be okay. So fingers
Better
crossed.
better better hit up those scalpers. You never know. They might be real tickets for this time.
You never know. That's fair. So if I mean, if push comes to shove, I'll do what I have to do to get in that arena.
I think that's probably a pretty good plan. Well, plans for the day. What are you doing on a Friday? So it's a Friday. We're decent in the morning, so kind of hanging out. What are your kind of big plans for the rest of the day and weekend, and kind of going forward to kind of cap it off?
Yeah, we have an engagement party for one of my best friends this weekend in Houston. So a group of us are road tripping to Houston tonight. I'm going to the liquor store after this, running some errands, getting my life together to be stuck. We're not leaving until it's Dallas rush hour traffic, which is unfortunate, but we all got to work. So we'll leave after the work day, and then we'll be in Houston for the weekend, visit some Black-owned businesses. I'm excited about that, and then we'll come home Sunday night, rest up, and then be ready to grind for another work week. What about yourself?
I think that's pretty rock solid. For me, it's kind of the same of what I do most days. The alarm clock goes off at 5:30. Up and
Mm-mm.
normally at the gym by 6:30. Sometimes a little slow with the dog and whatnot. Getting him taken out in the morning. Up in Fargo, it's a little cold. We've got some drastic wind chills right now. We're going to be in the negatives for the next week, so it's going to
Mm,
be a little different in the morning. But yeah, got my workout in. It was a leg day
cool.
today, and yeah, so pretty much just working out and do it every day. So
Good for
Taylor,
you.
thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah,
Um, in terms of you're making the impact right now with where you're at, and you're continuing to do that, and you've got plans to grow it even larger. If there's any last thing that you want to say to the folks, um, go for it.
cool. Thanks for having me on, Quinn. I appreciate it. One lasting thing, just be you. If you could be one thing, don't strive to be anyone else, just be yourself.
I like that call. Well, have
Yeah.
fun in Houston. Drive safe,
Thanks.
and I mean, you're my sister, so we know you'll probably be back on the show. So people saw you this first
Awesome.
time as an intro, and down the road we'll have to make it happen again. But
Cool. I
we'll
would
talk to you
love
later.
that. Thanks, Quinn. See y'all.
Like I said, is my blood. That is my older sister, Taylor. Awesome that she was able to take the time to come on today. And like she said, she's headed to Houston. So safe travels to Houston, safe and fun weekend doing all the fun kind of stuff. But we know for us, it's a Born to Win media show. This is Switch Up Sports. And as always, I think that was kind of the perfect thing to cap on. Just be you. That's kind of the cool part about Switch Up and what I do. If you guys see me ever in public, you're going to see me in the same stuff. You're going to see me wearing a Switch Up sweatshirt and some joggers. You're going to see me in shorts and a t-shirt. Like, I'm a laid back sports guy. I love sports. I love athletics. If being an athlete is part of a personality, that's definitely what I try to do. But at the end of the day, that's me being me. I want you guys to go and be you, be all that you can be, continue to grind and strive and do all that you can. In other news, I am a Bucked Up ambassador now. So if you guys are pre-workout fans, if you just want to try some pre-workout on my Instagram and on my TikTok, there's a link. You can get yourself some free Bucked Up, get yourself a free shaker bottle that comes with it. Or if you already like Bucked Up products, you do get 20% off by using my link. So there is that. It is pretty awesome. But other than that, that is Switch Up Sports. We will be back with another podcast and an episode later. And that is it for me on Switch Up and Born to Win Media. Mighty Q. I'll catch you guys on the next one.